Alright, welcome to this challenge lab. Here we'll be migrating a database to Amazon RDS. So this is the architecture that we started with: an EC2 instance running a web server, an Apache web server, and also running the MariaDB, a MariaDB for its database, on our Cafe application running on the web server and depending on the MariaDB. So, but now we want to migrate that database to use RDS so that we don't have to manage this database, because we will be the one managing everything on this EC2 instance. But to reduce the administrative load, we get to use RDS, and then we migrate our database to RDS, and we'll stop the service of the one running on the EC2 instance. So that's the goal of this lab. So let's start. First, we create the database, and here are the requirements to create it. So we jump in on the screens to pick what we need, and then we get to create that database. Alright, first we'll search for RDS, and we'll open RDS here. Then we can scroll down, look for the create database button, and then from what was given to us, not here, we see that it should be a MariaDB engine dev test, and this is the DB instance identifier. So let's copy that and let's start creating that database. So MariaDB dev test Cafe database for the DB instance identifier. See the master username, it says admin, and the password is this. So let's copy that. So the master username is admin. We make it self-managed so that we can use password. So we can now input our password here, we paste that, repeat the paste. Then for the instance configuration, we are using a Bustable and then a DBT3 micro. So it's Bustable classes, and it's a DB33 micro already, so leave that there. Then for storage, it says we pick a GP2 and then 20 GB. So we make it a GP2, we'll make this one 20. Then we say, it says for availability and durability, we do not create a standby. Because we are just running a test. This is not actual. This is for a lab. So for availability and durability, do not create. It's already selected. Do not create it. That's already selected. So connectivity, we use a lab VPC for the VPC, and the subnet is labdb subnet, and the public access is no. Security group, we select DBSG and we clear the default. We don't need the default. Then for the availability zone, we use US East 1A. Then database port is 3306. So let's just do all of that. So VPC is lab VPC. Subnet is DB subnet, it's already selected. LabDB subnet already selected. Public access, no, it's already selected. Security group, clear the default and use DBSG. Done. Port 3306. Then monitoring, it says we do not need enhanced monitoring, and that's it. So that's about it. So port 3306, monitoring no, then create the database. So yeah, create the database. So it says Next task is to analyze the existing Cafe application deployment. So we go to the EC2 instance Cafe server. Let's come from here. So say EC2. Let's create that. Can find EC2 there. So running instances, we see our Cafe server. Let's select it. So in our Cafe server, this is our EC2 instance running the web server, Apache web server, running the MariaDB for our database and our application. So to see our web application, let's copy put it HTTP. We are using HTTP colon /cafe. So this is our website running on the EC2 instance. And it says we should make an order, at least one item, to see how that it is working and to also check it out from the order history. So let's make at least one order. So let's just pick an item from the order. The order menu is working, so let's pick up one item and then make that order and see. Submit the order. So it's working. Can submit an order, and that's the time, and we check the order history to find the order that we just made and previous orders that exist on the database. It's working perfectly well. So next will be to connect to the EC2 instance. So let's go back to our EC2 instance. Let's go back to our EC2 instance and use connect, then connect from session manager. Then session manager connects us to a browser based terminal here. So next we get to, so on the browser based terminal we run these commands. So I have copied it. I'm going to use shift insert to paste, or I can use Ctrl Shift V to paste, and right here where I am supposed to be, you can see that all of these commands were run on the terminal and that. But it's advisable to type it individually and enter. So you type bash enter so that you can easily learn it. You can learn more when you get to type it and follow individually, because now you'll be able to monitor the effect of everything you do, or you can copy individually and paste to know the effect of each command so that you can learn it. Alright, so next we'll get to work with the database on the EC2 instance. Now that we are on the EC2 instance, we can see the status of our MariaDB and the version of the database. So we copy this command now and we run them here. So the first command shows us the status of our MariaDB. This is it. It's enabled, it's active and running, and some details about it. Then the second command gave us what the version of our database there. So next we're going to explore the secrets that these the EC2 instance is depending to access this database running on it. So it's going to use some secrets to access the database running on it. So let's go see those secrets in Secrets Manager. So I'll type secrets. Yeah, I'm going to open it in another tab. So I have secrets here, and here are the 7 secrets that the EC2 instance depends on to access the database server the database that is there running on it, on the EC2 instance. So let's explore the DB password. Here we see the secret value. We retrieve secret to see it in plain text, and here is it in plain text, so of which that we'll get to use soon. So to connect to the database from the terminal, now we will issue this command. So we issue this command. So let's copy it and go issue it on the terminal. Let's issue it on the terminal. It requires a password, and that password is the password that is stored in Secrets Manager. That is why the EC2 instance is able to access it by retrieving it from Secrets Manager. So we can copy it from Secrets Manager and go down there to the terminal to paste it. Remember again, when you paste or type passwords, they don't show, but when you enter, you know the effect. So now the effect is that we are granted access to the database, the MariaDB running on the EC2 instance. So here we are in it. So it gave us that access. Alright, so next we'll see like this what our screen look like. So next we issue these commands to show the databases, and then we'll select the choose the CafeDB, and then we show the tables running on that we have on CafeDB, and then select a particular table to see what we have on the table. So let's run everything all at once and scroll through to see the effect. So run that here. Okay, let's see. So show the databases on the MariaDB, then the show tables. We first, before that, we chose the database, which was CafeDB. That's the one we are using. So we use CafeDB to choose CafeDB, and then we are now running on CafeDB and not none. Then we show the tables on CafeDB, but these are the tables on CafeDB, and then select everything from order. Shows us everything we have on our order table on CafeDB, which is, you will see, is actually all of these things here, all of this history that we have on our order history. That's what we have on our order table right there. So you can see them here, and the last order we just made, 25, is here too. This is the date and the time. Just some minutes ago we made that down. Alright, so let's just exit. We have been able to explore that. Let's just exit and let's move ahead. So next we are going to export this data we have seen, this database on CafeDB. We are going to use the MySQL dump utility to export this database now and store them in a file called cafedb-dump.sql. So let's issue that command to do exactly that. It requires a password, and that will be the password of the database running on the EC2, which is this. That is it. So to confirm, we check the files that we have here, and now we see that this file has been copied, has been created there. And let's see the content with cat. And we see the content of it. It shows and is similar to what we have seen there. So that's the whole database we have exported to that file. So let's go ahead. So next, let's go back to the RDS instance, and we get to answer these questions from here. First, we go to the AWS details. Okay. it has opened. Then we select access. Okay, I'm going to shift it up here. Alright, I'm going to expand this again. Alright, so the question is, where is the RDS running from? So let's go to the database, back to the database. Let's close that. Where is the database running from? The database is running from US East 1A, which is the availability zone, an availability zone in US East 1. So we can say that database is running from US East 1A availability zone. So select that. Alright. Again, does the RDS instance have an IPv4 address assigned to it? Does it have an IPv4 address? So let's go to the database. So under connectivity and security, we should see an IP address here. Under networking, we should see the public subnet, but we can't find a public subnet and we can't find a public IPv4. So it doesn't have a public IPv4 address attached to it, and from what we have seen before, the database server should be in the private subnet, and so it shouldn't have a public IP address. So we say no, it doesn't have a public IP address assigned. So the next question says, what is the name tag value applied to the subnet in which the RDS instance is running? So the name, so the tag, is it a private subnet, private 1, private 2? So we can see it in many ways. From here first, we can see that here, this is what we're starting with, and this is where we are going to, or where we currently are now. We have created the RDS in what private subnet 1. So we have nothing on the private subnet 2. So the tag applied is private subnet 1, not just private subnet or private subnet 2, but private subnet 1 is what we are using. The private subnet 2 has nothing there and is only there for the case of multi-AZ. If we want to deploy in another availability zone, we have another zone to deploy to, but currently we are running from here, and that's the tag applied to it. So say it's private subnet 1. So how many security group rules, how many rules are defined for it in the security group? Okay, so these are the security group rule. See that it's just okay, the security group. So inbound has no rule, outbound has one rule. So altogether we have just one rule defined for it. So we say one rule only. So we're done with all that question. So let's continue. See what next. Okay, so it says let's establish a connection from the terminal or running on the EC2 instance to the new RDS instance. So this is how we run a connection. We're going to use this that we were using, but this time around we're going to add the endpoint of the RDS instance. So let's copy that and go put that up in the terminal. Let's go run that on the terminal. Remember to change the placeholder to the actual endpoint of the RDS. So let's just go back there. So this is the endpoint of the RDS. I've copied that. I'm going to paste it there and enter. Now we are connecting to the RDS instance. So the password you are going to use now is what? The password of the RDS instance, which we created there. So that password is Okay, let's get it back from the instructions. This is the password we used when creating the RDS instance. Okay, so actually we can wait for this till it times out and fails. It's not going to connect. And why is that? So let's see. So it says even if you enter the RDS endpoint and password correctly, you still won't be able to connect. You must update the inbound rules. Remember, there are no inbound rules for this RDS, so nothing can come in, nothing can gain access in. It only has outbound rule, so just one outbound rule, but no inbound rule. So we have to update the inbound rule to be able to connect from the terminal to that RDS. So now, and the port we're going to use is port 3306. So let's go open that port on our RDS instance. So right where we were before, the security group. Security group ID. So we'll go down to what the inbound rules. We edit inbound rules to add another add rule, and then let's just call the port, which is 3306, and the source is going to be from the security group of the EC2 instance. So if we are saying we are selecting the source as the security group of the security of the EC2 instance, it means anything from the security group of the EC2 instance can connect on port 3306. So of which the EC2 instance is in this security group, so it will be able to connect. And in case any other EC2 instance added to that security group can also connect on port 3306. So let's save that, and we are going to run that command again. So to go back to a previous command, you can use the arrow up button. You see it going back to previous commands. Arrow down will come to the most recent. So arrow up takes me to the most previous command. Enter, say request for password. I'm going to that password I used while creating the RDS instance, which is this. So I'm going to come back here and paste it here. So now we see I've done that. I have connected to the RDS instance from the terminal. It's now possible, and just like before, let's issue the command show databases, and from here we see that what our CafeDB is not here. Alright, so because we have not imported it into the RDS instance. CafeDB was on the database running in the EC2 on the EC2 instance, but now we want to run from RDS, so we have to also bring in the CafeDB to what RDS. That's what importing the data base, the CafeDB database now. So here we use this command to import the database which we first exported from the MariaDB to this file, and that file is in our EC2 instance. Now from that file we're going to import it to our RDS through with that endpoint. So that's the command. So let's go issue that there. So and then we get to edit the placeholder and replace it with our endpoints on RDS. So let's pick the endpoint and paste it here. Enter. Oh, I didn't exit from the database. I'm going to run that command from the EC2. So back to the EC2 instance, then I can run that command. Okay, I don't have it there. Okay, let's come back. Let's go back and copy that import command. Where do we have it there? Okay, so now let's come back with this import command. Now let's come back to the RDS, copy its endpoint and paste here. Okay, enter. So now the password of the RDS instance. So remember the password, so let's just go copy it from the instructions we got while creating. Alright, so here is it. Alright, so that's done. So now let's check. To check, let's do that again. Let's connect again. Let's connect again with this command and then the password. Yeah, so now let's show databases. See, now we have our CafeDB. Meanwhile, we didn't have it here, and that's one challenge I have with this lab. It usually fails this part and says the database was not imported, but we can see from here, show database, these are the database. We don't have CafeDB, and we use this command to import, and we did that same command again, and we saw that CafeDB is now here, which was not here before. So it's successfully imported. And when we would also run the application after stopping the one running on the EC2, we will see the application is still functioning well. It means it was actually imported to the RDS, since the application uses the RDS just like it used the EC2 without any issues. So let's just exit out of here, back to our EC2 instance, and see what next to do. Okay, now connecting to the, now we get to connect the application to the new EC2 instance, to the new database rather. We get to connect the application to the new database. So we'll go back to secrets and edit the secrets, because now since we changed the database, this new database has different credentials from the one we have already. So since we don't want to use this old database, we have to change the credential that our EC2 instance or our web server will take on Secret Manager. We have to go and change it to this new database, because this new database has different credentials. So we'll go back to secrets and change those things. So the tip is that there's no need to change the currency. The currency is the same, the database name is the same, the time zone is the same, the server info is the same, but every other thing, which like the URL, the username, the password, they are going to change. So let's go make those changes. Okay, so first the password here, we're going to change it So we know the new password is going to be the password of the RDS, since we are using the RDS now, and it's the password we configured while creating the RDS. So we're going to have that here instead of that. We're going to save that. Then we're going to change also the user. So retrieve the secret, and then we edit, and the user is saying root, but now we are not using root. Remember, the master user name which we configured while creating the RDS was admin, just like that there. So we save that, and then the third thing we're going to change is the URL. The initial URL, if you notice, is that of the EC2 instance. Because remember, see, that's the IP address and compute AWS. So that's the EC2 instance. But now we're going to use the endpoint of the RDS instance. So let's copy the endpoint here. We're going to put it here. So now this is the endpoint of the RDS, because we are now using the RDS and not the EC2 instance. So next is that we're going to stop the RDS running on the EC2 instance, so that we know and we are sure that we are no longer using it. So we're going to stop it on the terminal. So, and this is the command. The command was given to us to stop it. So that's it. We're going to stop the RDS instance here. That command issue, and then it stopped. So the RDS instance is no longer, the database, the MariaDB database running on the EC2 instance is no longer running. We have stopped it. So the menu and the order history, if they are still depending on it, they will no longer work. But remember, we have already created an RDS instance, and we have changed the connection setting from that of the MariaDB on the EC2 to that of the RDS. So our application should now be using the RDS. So what we do, we just go refresh to see. Let's go to our application and just refresh. So we have refreshed our page and it's still working. And to be very, very sure, we're going to make another order. Let's make another order. Just take 15 of that and submit the order, and we see it's working fine. Order history, we can see we made 15 order for this, and it's working fine. So that's the end of this lab. So let's submit it and we'll see the results. Alright, like we can see, there's the results. So it's enough to pass the lab, and like I said, I've tried this over and again, and this of the data import is not working. It's not being graded, but like I showed us, confirmed here that it was actually imported. It's here. Meanwhile, it wasn't here. We imported it and it's here and it's working, and we have made an order, but I don't know why in the grading it didn't acknowledge it. So that is it. Thank you.